Hello, it's Tim Esterdahl with Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. Today we're in beautiful Utah with Eric Stanczak. He's the chief engineer for GM Trucks, and we're standing in front of the new GMC Sierra. It's got the new Duramax Diesel in there. So let's start talking about how this new diesel is going to impact the truck market with Eric Stanczak.
How you doing? So I guess the first thing that's most recognizable about the truck is our functional hood scoop. We've actually got a patent pending induction system where we pull, depending upon the situations, anywhere from 50 to 55% of the cold air inside the new induction system. So it's functional, it's not decorative, which is really important. We talk about the new Duramax Diesel, 6.6 liter.
Yeah, so you pop the hood. What's a customer going to look at? What stands out to them?
Well, I think a couple of things. Number one, the new induction system with the water separator is something that's clearly evident in the new hood, and that's been very meticulously designed, developed, and evaluated and tested to make sure that we don't have any issues in any inclement weather that we have there. Next thing you're going to notice is the beautiful L5p Duramax Diesel. It's effectively ground up brand new. 90% of the parts in this engine are new. We have basic same functional architecture parameters are carryover from the LML, but many of the components, including the block, the heads, the crank, the camshaft, the fuel systems, all the after treatment, including a brand new turbo, all those things are all new.
Okay, and the turbo, now that was a Borg turbo, and you said something interesting today in the conference about backflow in the turbo?
Yeah, so we have the turbos back here. It's a little difficult to see, but
Borg
it's in the back
Warner.
of the
I can't talk today. Borg Warner.
Yeah, so we have enhanced exhaust brake capabilities with that turbo, and it's enabled by the controls. We're electronically controlling a variable vane inside the turbo, and that does a couple of things for us. Number one, it allows us to more accurately control how much power and boost we're putting into the engine, and it also helps us provide better engine braking when we use the exhaust brake, which helps control the truck when you're going downhill.
And the exhaust brake is a really nice feature. I experienced it today driving around, and it really works well. You've did some other changes though. We have electronic glow plugs.
That's correct.
And then what about the fuel injection? That was a big issue as well.
Yeah, so the fuel injection system changed. We've got a high pressure fuel pump, we've got common rail, we've got solenoid injectors, and we've taken the controls for the engine and the fuel system and pulled them inside. So we have General Motors engine controller, we have all the software and calibration that is used for the engine is all done internally. And what that has allowed us to do is very tightly control fuel delivery to the engine, which allows us to have an excellent balance between meeting the emissions requirements and still delivering new numbers for power and torque, which, as you're aware, are segment leading for horsepower, 445 horsepower, which is SAE net certified, that's class leading, and 910 pound-feet of torque, which is a 19% increase over the outgoing LML.
And you were talking about the fuel injection this morning. It was 7 times per cycle.
We can control the amount of fuel that goes into each cylinder 7 times per combustion cycle, if we want to.
So in high towing situations, you could get that much horsepower out of that.
Yeah, it allows you to very tightly control obviously how much fuel is delivered and when it's delivered in the combustion cycle. And there's a very delicate balance between putting power down and still having very good emissions, which this engine does. And
when you're doing that much fuel in that chamber, it's got to get hot, right? It's got to get hot in there. So what are we doing to keep it cool?
Absolutely. So diesels of this nature, producing this much horsepower and torque, do get hot. We've done a lot of extensive modifications to the L5P to make sure that the engine can handle it. We've got additional 30% oil cooler capacity on the engine. We've redone the complete after treatment in the exhaust system, including Inconel gaskets, which have a very high temperature threshold. What that allows us to do is it allows us to maintain that power output under very severe conditions. Picture of towing, a heavy trailer, 20,000 pounds, let's say, up a high ambient temperature grade like Davis Dam or even here in Eisenhower. You can maintain that power up the grade for a long period of time. You don't have to pull power out to protect the engine due to heat.
Right. And the other thing you guys did on this that I thought was pretty remarkable is the sound. So we're not doing the McDonald's pulling drive-through, turn it off anymore, are we?
No, we're not doing that at all. I think one of the things we're really proud of is how refined this L5P is in regards to its idle quality and driving down the road, just smooth road, cruising along 50, 55 miles per hour. I think there's a lot of people that will forget that it's a diesel when they're cruising along. So we've got lots of additional content to ensure that the engine is as quiet as it can be.
And you did that in two ways. One of them, you talked about the oil pan. You changed the design of that, which is a really interesting take. I've never heard of anybody changing the oil pan, but it makes sense. There's a lot of noise coming from the bottom of the engine.
That's right.
And there was another thing you did. Do you remember what the second thing was?
Yeah, we've added a lot of noise insulation on the rocker covers, actually. So
Okay, yep.
all the valve train, not all of it, but a lot of the valve train and a lot of the fuel injection noises that irradiate from a diesel, we've tried to contain that as much as possible with specific noise abatement underneath the rocker covers.
Well, cool. Let's fire it up and see here's what it sounds like.
Okay.
We'll do an outside sound. We'll do an inside sound. So there you go. There's the sound at idle. Now let's go check out the inside. You can barely hear that. That is whisper quiet. So inside the cab, which is naturally the triple sealed doors, which I'd like to buy and put them on different vehicles. This is inside the cab. So this is your Denali package. It is the Sierra Denali. We have the controls here for exhaust brake. We have the tow haul mode up here. We have the trailer brake control over there, so we're ready to tow. And if you can't hear the diesel, well, that's the point. And that's what we have. In beautiful Utah, towing the new 6.6 liter Duramax Diesel with GMC Sierras.